In the unresolved problems segment tonight, during his CPAC speech today, the president once again promised to put up a wall between the U.S. and Mexican border and crack down on illegal immigrants who commit crimes in this country.
We're building the wall. We're building the wall. In fact, it's going to start soon. Way ahead of schedule. Way ahead of schedule. And remember, we are getting the bad ones out. These are bad dudes. We're getting the bad ones out. Okay? As we speak today, immigration officers are finding the gang members, the drug dealers, and the criminal aliens and throwing them the hell out of our country.
Yesterday, Mr. Trump described the effort as, quote, a military operation, which Press Secretary Sean Spicer later clarified was not meant to be taken literally. And Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly also tried to calm fears during a meeting yesterday with Mexican officials.
There will be no, repeat, no mass deportations. Everything we do in DHS will be done legally and according to human rights in the legal justice system of the United States.
Joining us now from Miami, Univision anchor Jorge Ramos. Jorge, first of all, thanks for talking to us. The best crime figures that we could come up with were that roughly 820,000 of the people in this country illegally are convicted criminals. Do you have any problem with finding them and kicking them out of the country?
I have absolutely no problem with criminals. I have no problem with terrorists, with drug traffickers. But the problem, Chris, is that President Trump is criminalizing the immigrants in this country. The vast majority of immigrants, the vast majority of undocumented immigrants in this country are not criminals, are not terrorists. And that's precisely the problem. You know, they come here because they want to work, they harvest the food that we eat, they build our homes, and they don't want to get in trouble with the police. I was reading, before doing the interview, a report by the American Immigration Council. Immigrants are less likely to be criminals or be behind bars than U.S. citizens.
Jorge, so I understand that. I understand that. But I mean, here you have John Kelly, the Secretary of Homeland Security, saying there are not going to be mass deportations. You've got President Trump in his speech talking about rapists and gang members and drug dealers. Why not take yes for an answer that those are the folks he wants to deport?
That's fine, but the problem is that how you define criminal now. During the Obama administration, and we have to say it, President Barack Obama deported more immigrants than any other president in the history of the United States, 2.5 million. But now, at least they intended to deport only violent criminals. That's not the case right now. General Kelly, I heard exactly the same thing that you did. He's saying that there will be no mass deportations. Well, then what happened a week ago? They deported more than 680 immigrants. How do you define, is that a mass deportation? I think it is, and the problem is that they were deporting not only the criminals, or what they consider criminals, but also people that had really absolutely no problem with the law. A woman called Guadalupe Garcia, 22 years in this country, 2 kids, 2 American kids. She was deported. She was just a mom.
Well, first of all, are you saying that when General Kelly says no mass deportations, he's misleading, he's lying?
No, what I'm saying, I don't know exactly how he defines mass deportation, but the fact is that he ordered the deportation of 680 immigrants last week. How do you consider that? How do you define that? Well, I assume
some of them are criminals, or most of them were criminals. Do you have any reason to believe that?
Some of them. Exactly, some of them, but many of them are not.
So, well, let me ask you about a different kind of quote, criminal, and that is somebody who comes into this country. We're not talking about just crossing the border, but somebody who then gets a false Social Security card or gets false papers, gets a driver's license illegally that allows them to get government benefits. Do you consider that a crime?
It's not a violent crime, and honestly, Chris,
but is it a crime?
We can't. It is a crime, but you know, they are here because of us. They are coming here, again, not because they want to go to Disneyland or because they want to kill Americans. They are here to benefit our lives. I mean, they're here to millions of Americans benefit from their work.
Well, I mean, with all due respect, isn't that a decision that the President of the United States and our elected officials should make? I mean,
exactly, but again, let's not be naive. They are using, many of them, yes, they use fake IDs. Many of them use fake driver's licenses. Why? Because they are working for us. The reason they are here, Chris, is because of us. So we have to be responsible for that. It is not simply that they come here and they just wanted to come here and make money. Yeah, I mean, they want to do that. They want to better their lives. But also, they are here to help us. So we are partly responsible for that, and I think we're partly responsible for finding a solution.
I want to ask you one other question in the time we have left, and that is the fact that General Kelly was in Mexico yesterday along with Secretary of State Tillerson to try to repair, to improve relations with Mexico. How broken right now, given the talk about the wall, given the talk about deporting even non-Mexicans back to Mexico, how broken are relations between our two countries?
They're terrible. I was in Mexico just a few days ago. Sean Spicer says that the relationship between Mexico and the U.S. is phenomenal. I can tell you that is not true. 86% of Mexicans, according to Reforma, which is a leading newspaper, 86% of Mexicans have a negative opinion of Donald Trump. And the Mexican government opposes the wall, opposes paying for the wall, opposes deportations, opposes the ending of NAFTA. So the relationship right now is probably the worst since the U.S. invasion of Veracruz in 1914. It is terrible right now.
Of course, what President Trump would say is that's because there's been a soft policy. We haven't been enforcing our border, and finally we are.
Well, what I would say is that President Trump is wrong. There's no invasion of Mexicans coming to the United States. For the last 5-6 years, the undocumented population has remained stable at about 11 million. And by the way, more Mexicans are leaving the United States than coming to this country. So there's really no invasion. And the problem right now with the Mexican government is that Trump wants Mexico to pay for that wall, and Mexicans, believe me, they won't pay a cent for that wall.
Jorge, thank you. Always good to talk with you. Plenty more ahead.